Afternoon, boys and girls. We're on lesson 116, and that's finding common denominators to add, subtract, compare. To add, subtract, and compare fractions. Excuse me. Oh, what is that? Okay. Well, there's some free extra assets, and we can paste and copy them wherever. That's funny. All right. Here's our objective for today. We're going to be able to compare fractions with different denominators, and we're going to add and subtract fractions with different denominators. So, if you learn one thing today, you should be able to do these two things. All right. Here's a vocab. There isn't one, but it's a question. What is your favorite hot lunch item? So if you've never had hot lunch, or if you have your favorite one, write that down in the vocabulary part of our worksheet. All right. Here's the joke of the day. Well, it's a little narration. So the teacher says, "Why are you late?" And the boy says, "Because the sign on the road." And the teacher says, "What does the sign have to do with you being late?" The boy says, "Well, the sign said, 'School ahead, go slow.'" Huh? All right. Here is our um, new concept for today. So, with these ones, 1/4 and 3/4, we could add and subtract these ones because they have a common denominator. We could also tell which one is more, which is 3/4 is more, is because the denominator is the same. So we can compare the numbers on top because these are the same denominators, right? Now, what if we have two different denominators, okay? Well, I know that you guys know what 1/2 of a circle is and 1/4 of a circle is, but if we were to add these two together, how much really would you have, okay? Um, and so, in order for us to add or subtract these things, what we need to do is we need to come up with a way to get the denominators the same. So, what we're going to use is we're going to use our least common multiple, which in this case between 2 and 4. The common multiple for these two is 4, right? So in order for me to change this 1/2, I'm going to times this by its least common multiple, which is, uh, I'm sorry, I'm going to get this to 4, so I got to figure out what 2 becomes 4. How does 2 become 4? All right, so I need to times that by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to times the top and the bottom by 2, right? If we have 2 over 2, that equals 1. So we're just changing the way that it looks, but it's still the same number, all right? So when I do that, we do 2 times 1 equals 2, and then 2 times 2 equals 4. Now I can add and subtract these, all right? So if we have different ones, this one was easy because we only had to change one side. Sometimes you have to change two sides, all right? And you'll see that in your work, all right? Because you just have to figure out what's the least common multiple of both of them. Say if I had 3 and 5 here, okay? I'd have to change both of them. The least common multiple between 3 and 5 is 15. So in order for me to change that, I would have to times um, both of them by something different, but they would still equal 15. All right. So and you'll see that in what I mean when we go to our lesson practice. All right. Here's our example number 1. In Katie's cookbook, a recipe for salsa calls for 3/4 cup of chopped fresh cilantro, and a salsa recipe given to Katie by a friend calls for 7/8 cup of fresh cilantro. Which recipe calls for more cilantro? So we got to figure, is 3/4 more than 7/8? And how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is we look at the common denominators for 4 and 8. All right, so the least common multiple for 4 and 8 is 8 because 8, 4 can be made into 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to times 3/4 by 2. All right, 2 over 2, which equals 1, right? So 3 times 2 equals 6, and 4 times 2 equals 8. So this is 6/8. Now I can compare 6/8 versus 7/8. Which one is more? Well, we see that 6 is less than 7. So 3/4 is less than 7/8. All right? And that's how we would compare fractions with different denominators. We got to change the denominator so that they're the same. All right. Now, if we wanted to add this, I just showed you this on the new concept. So how do I get 1/2 to be able to add to 1/4? Well, I'm going to change this by multiplying 1/2 by 2, right? 2 over 2, which equals 1. See? 1 times 2 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. Now I can add because the denominators are the same. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. And then when you add and subtract fractions, you don't mess with the denominator. They stay the same. So that stays the same. All right. Now we're going to take this mixed number, and we got to figure out how do we add these two together. Well, or subtract them, I'm sorry. Now I have to, in order for us to subtract, I need to have the same denominator, okay? So what do I need to times 2 by in order to get it to a multiple of 6? Well, 2 can become 6 if I times it by 3. So what we're going to do is we times 1/2 by 3, and we get 3. Hold on, I don't know there you go. What is going on with my computer today? I'm sorry, guys. 1/2 times 3 over 3 equals 3/6. Now I can subtract this, which is 3. Oh, goofy computer. What's going on? Okay. 3. Now I have 3 and 3/6 and 1 and 1/6. Now I do my whole number first, which is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2, and then 3 minus 1 is 2, and then I don't change my denominator, which is 6. But I can reduce after I get my answer, then I could reduce, which is 2 and 1/3. All right. I know that's a little confusing and it's been going in and out. Sorry about that. All right. There you go. Now, here's example number 4. Now, 2 will never become a 3 and 3 will never become a 2. So I need to find a common multiple of both of them. So I need to find the least common multiple, and then I can add it together. Now, I know that if 3, the least common multiple with 3 and 2 would be 6, right? So what I need to do is I need to do times the top and the bottom by 2, which is that's what we have here. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 equals 6. Then I'm going to do this one, the 1/2, okay? When I do the 1/2, I need to figure out how do I get this to 6, which I times this 2 by 3 in order to get 6. See, that's what they have down here. So we do 3 over 3, and then we multiply. 1 times 3 equals 3, and then 2 times 3 equals 6. So now I can subtract these, right? Oh, add them. Now, 2 plus 3 equals 5, all right? And then we have our denominator of 6. Remember, when we add or subtract, we do not change the denominator. And that's what we have here is 5/6. All right, here's your lesson practice. You need to find the common denominator for A through C and then compare the fractions. You need to find that common denominator first. Now you can compare. And then for the ones on the bottom, just make sure that you find the common denominator, rename one or both of the fractions if you need to, then I add or subtract the fractions, and then at the end we reduce the answer when possible. Always reduce your answers when possible, okay? I'm sure you'll have questions on this, and we'll work on it more in class if you have trouble with it, all right? So have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you in the morning.